I am here with the lovely Gabriel, and he is here to talk to us today about his research that he's been doing, that his colleague kindly presented at the conference, the 2025 conference just gone in July. And we are speaking with Gabriel to just have a chat about his work and see where we can move forward with his research. So, Gabriel, I'll leave it over to you if you could just introduce yourself and your research.
Thank you so much, Chloe, and thank you so much for the opportunity to be talking about this here as well. I wish I could have been at the conference this year in person, but I had to attend it online. But I'm sure it was awesome being there as well. But so many great research and lots of interesting things to chat and see also the news around this. So basically, the idea around my project is that we are trying to use AI to help us enhance the standards in equine competition, basically. So what Kemi presented there at the conference were some of the initial data that we have around the tests that we are doing with the AI algorithm and trying to better understand how we can apply that to real life.
Amazing. And you just missed a step. Who are you, Gabriel?
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Well, I'm a PhD student right now at the University of São Paulo in Brazil. I'm also a vet, graduated also at the University of São Paulo. And I've always been really, really interested in animal welfare in general. And I'm passionate about horses since I was really, really young. So I guess those two things just came up together naturally of trying to enhance welfare and trying to better understand how we can improve the lives of horses and our relationship with them as well.
Amazing. And people of ISES do probably know who you are because you've done quite a few things with us. So that's been a pleasure as well.
Thank
Um,
you.
so just talking about your work, so it's been really fantastic to be able to use the benefits of AI and combine that kind of with understanding and measuring welfare. So what motivated you to explore computer vision for horses in competition?
So actually, I started into getting into this world of AI when people didn't know yet a lot about AI. It wasn't as it is right now. Everyone talking about AI and things like that after ChatGPT and all these others. But basically, when I was still an undergraduate, I was talking to my supervisor, Professor Adraldo Zanella, and we wanted to come up with an idea for a project that had to be something innovative. And after long, long hours discussing lots of ideas, we came up with this idea of using AI to apply the grimace scales that we already had in horses to try to better understand the pain levels through their facial expressions. So this was basically the study that we published while I was still an undergraduate. And this led us thinking also on the importance of understanding not only pain, but also other affective states, positive, negatives, and in also other environments, and not only the stabled horse, for example, knowing about pain. We would also like to see, for example, the affective states when horses are interacting with us and when we're talking about our relationship and interaction with horses, the first thing that comes up nowadays is the whole discussion around social license to operate and what is happening with competitions and how could we do to make things better. And the thing that I was thinking when I decided to start on my PhD was basically that we have already lots of amazing knowledge being gathered around lots of research and things that people who usually are in the ISES conferences, for example, are tired of knowing already how things should be better or could be better with all those amazing research. So I wanted to kind of bring something that could help us put this research into real life, really applied research. So, and then I thought, well, every sport nowadays is using technology to try to enhance, to apply the rules and everything else. So why can't we try to do that with horses in terms of improving welfare and have an objective tool to help us assess that? So basically, that's where the whole idea and discussion came from.
Wonderful. And you certainly were right place, right time with the whole AI situation. If you were getting in there just before it really took off, so that's a lucky position to be in before.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
crazy because like generally, I'm talking here AI, for example, but when you go deeper in the subject, it's actually like really, really broad. And we can talk about lots of different types of AI and different types of techniques and all of that. And to me, it was also a challenge since I graduated as a vet and I didn't have any knowledge on the AI field as well. So, but it was a really good thing that well, it's an area that kind of forced me to get more, get to know into different areas and all of that. So I also have a co-supervisor from the biosystems engineering, Professor Rafael. And that's what I think it's really to me the most interesting thing about the research is bringing together professionals from different fields. Because many times, for example, we that are doing kind of behavioral sciences and all of that, we don't have any clue of how technology could be helping us, for example. And there's usually an easier way to do things, but we take too much time to find that out because we don't talk a lot with people from other areas. So I think that's really important.
I totally agree with you, and I discovered this recently in a slightly different area, is combining animal welfare with law and lawyers after going to a conference in Oxford, the Oxford for Animal Ethics conference. I can't remember what it's called, but anyway, and there was lots of lawyers and regulators discussing kind of how they've worked with other people in the industry to get things moving forward. And I think you're so, so right about being so stuck in this particular area of behavior and not reaching out to other crucial areas of the industry or other industries that actually move things along and move things forward. So yeah, just my experience in speaking to lawyers, and I was like, actually, I think I need to know a few lawyers. Realize how like, well, I knew how important it was. Obviously it's really, really important, and we know that. If someone said, is it important, absolutely, but it's just taking that step to get in contact with these people. So I totally agree with you.
Yeah, yeah, that's for sure. And I think that many times researchers kind of forget about that when we're looking at a problem, because we actually, every problem is really, really complex. So you have all the social aspect as well, and the human behavior change and all of that, and the legislation. So if we can do things looking from this perspective, I think that we will reach way better results when trying to really apply science. Because I used to get really frustrated of seeing like some of those results that we mentioned. And I was thinking like about doing research, and I said, well, I will have to wait like 50 years before I can see this going into the industry and actually helping horses. And I was a bit frustrated about this. So I really wanted to find ways of getting things there quicker.
Amazing. Really, really cool. So moving back, so you spoke about equine affective states in your work. So could you, for our audience, could you just explain what you mean by that and why it matters?
So basically, affective states, it's a term that we use to describe emotions and how animals are feeling. And it's, to me, one of the most important aspects that we have to bring into competition as well nowadays, because many, well, for most of the disciplines that we're looking, the emotional states of the horses are not taken into consideration when we are giving points to them, for example, or scoring the competition. So, in my mind, if we're talking about competition, we should be aiming for something that brings an animal closer to be actually enjoying themselves as well while doing the task that we are asking. So that's why I think it's really important not only for us to take this into consideration, but also teach people how to recognize those emotional states. And it is really surprising to see some research that suggests that even veterinarians sometimes are not really good at assessing even pain, for example, and trainers and practitioners are not really good at assessing emotional states of the horses as well. So I think this is an area that we should definitely put some effort into teaching people how to recognize that. And it seems a bit conflicting, the idea that we are training an AI and not people, but I believe that having a system trained to do that will also work as a tool to help educate people. Because when they have a really objective tool showing them what that is, it will be easier for them to learn as well how to recognize those signals.
Definitely. Yeah, I totally agree with you. And I think if it would be wonderful to be able to see this used in the industry, not just in competition, but also with just the average horse owner, or as you said, veterinarians as well. That would be so amazing to be able to put that into practice, I think. And as you said, effective state is so important to understand. It's essentially the output of everything. It's the outputs of all of the inputs, and I think biologically, environmentally, behaviorally, and even them as an individual as well. So it can really teach you about your horse and how they feel in that particular situation. So it's really nice to be able to use AI technology to show owners or professionals how their horses are feeling.
Yeah, exactly. And it's really, really interesting also to me that some of the research, for example, nowadays that are bringing AI, now we are seeing some more research popping up with AI, but one of the most difficult things it is actually classifying what we are seeing or what we are training the AI to see, basically. And this is one of the most important parts of our research that we have been trying our best to kind of establish what we call in AI the ground truth, which is basically the truth that you're training the AI to recognize. Because some of the studies, they kind of don't have a very well structured data. And if that data is not well established, basically you will teach the AI. The AI will be able to recognize something, but not necessarily what that really means or if it generalizes for the overall horses or public and all of that. So this is something that we are putting lots of effort on how to build this database and how to really be sure that we are seeing what we really want to see and teach the AI the correct things. So it's one of the tricky parts of it.
Definitely. And I think because there's still not, I mean, for example, with the development of Equifax and the emotional states developed from there, I know there isn't, there's a couple of emotional states that aren't 100% kind of agreed upon in regards to um, body language and behavior responses. So things that go into positive affective state, but also things like frustration that can be well, we haven't had enough data for yet, I don't think. What is that right?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Um,
even with humans, what you're thinking, for example, about the Equifax or of the human facts, for example, there's still loads of discussion because some of those things could be kind of different among individuals as well, even pain expression.
mhm.
So it's something that even in the studies that tried, for example, to standardize the best they could the level of pain for horses, for example, we are never capable of doing that 100% because one individual will feel more or less pain. And when we're talking about emotions, that's even harder because there's so many factors, you know.
Mm. Yeah, level of pain is quite would be quite a difficult one to assess just through body language and facial expressions, I can imagine. Um, So when you tested, if I understand correctly, you tested different AI, I think you called it architectures, and I noticed that one of them came out strongest. What made that one in particular stand out in comparison to the others?
So basically, this software that we are using, you have the possibility of using those different architectures and you can try to kind of test different hyperparameters, and all of that will kind of change how the AI is looking at the image. So it mostly has to do with the image and the type of animal or movement that we are looking for example. So it was kind of we were testing and seeing how well the system would do. In our case, basically for people that didn't see the presentation, it was about finding the key points that we want in specific areas of the horse's body. So that's basically how we could see, for example, if it was accurate or not, or if it was reaching the same point that I did manually label to teach the AI how to assess. So that's basically how we do it. And this specific architecture seemed to be the best one to find those key points. So this is one really important step before we can do the next ones of actually having the AI working on its own, because now we can be certain, for example, if it is accurate, those measurements that the AI is doing or not. And we can be safer to go to the next steps and actually look, for example, at what those informations that we are retrieving from the AI will say about affective states, for example.
Mm, sure. And when it comes to the interpretation of, because I think you said it was to do with precision and recall, is that right? What does that actually mean for maybe for people as well that not used to these kind of metrics, what does that mean for assessing horse welfare in this case?
So actually, in this point, we of the step, it's not directly related to measuring welfare, because we're training this first AI to actually recognize the key points. So the precision, the recall, and all the other metrics that we are using, for example, the average distance between the points that we are marking and what the AI is saying and all of that, they are actually informing us about how well the AI is finding those areas. So let's say the nostril, the ears, and the withers, and all of that. So basically, to get to this final idea and our final results that we are aiming for in my research, we would need this first AI to find the points, and afterwards, it will be the step of doing an analysis of these key points and then interpreting them in relation to affective states. So, because our database is composed of videos, for example, that are showing negative affective states, positive affective states, and neutral, we will then try to analyze the morphometric analysis, geographical analysis of these key points, and understand, for example, well, in the negative videos, the points behaved in this manner, and the positive ones in this manner are things like that. So basically trying to correlate the dynamics of the points and the behaviors that we are seeing.
Amazing. And that is where your time in the UK comes in, where you can work with some pretty cool people to learn more about affective states in not just horses, but also other animals, I'm assuming.
Yes, exactly. And it brings all of this together. So I've just received this stipend to spend 6 months in the University of Bristol with Professor Carol Fure. And they had done amazing studies already in this area of affective states. And I was really, really looking forward for this opportunity because, as we were talking before, I think that some of the AI studies are only AI based and they are only looking at the metrics, but not heavily into the affective states part. So this is why I want to now bring all this data and discuss it with their group so we can really make this research as robust as possible in the area of affective states so that we can take away everything that we can from this data to maybe bring up new ideas on how to interpret and how to apply this in our interaction with forces.
Amazing. Every single person I speak to and have spoken to so far for these interviews, I want to do what they're doing. And every time I'm like, because when you actually, and anyone listening as well, but when you actually sit there and discuss these things with people and obviously speaking to about their areas of expertise and learning more, anyone who loves learning, I highly recommend just speaking to other people in other industries, and it really opens you up to other ideas and kind of as we said before as well, integrating other areas of the industry or even outside of the industry as well. So you've made me very passionate about AI all of a sudden. Um,
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I think that this is one of the main aspects why I was so sad that I couldn't get to the conference this year in person, because I always benefit a lot from these discussions, and I could literally say days talking about those things. And I totally get what you're saying, that like if I wish I had time to do more and more research about everything. Yeah.
That's exactly what I was thinking as well. And I actually this was the first time I went to the conference this year, and I think I said on a previous interview I highly regret not going to the previous ones. Um, and yeah, it was just absolutely as exactly like you said, you could stand there for days talking to people about what they're up to and just kind of relating it to what you've been up to, and everyone's passions really just explode, and it's wonderful.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. It's amazing.
Wonderful. So I think you said as well, you kind of cautioned applying AI tools too quickly in competition. What risks do you see if AI is used kind of without care or too quickly?
Well, I think that it really depends like on how we are going to apply it. And I think that it would also kind of be useful to do some research um, with the industry to better understand how people would perceive that and how we could apply it. And why I'm thinking that is that basically because looking at other sports, for example, we have seen some of the technologies that face issues in the beginning, and probably this will happen as well when technology is applied, start being applied also in equine sports. So basically, there's some investment that has to be made, and technology gets better from one season to the other. For example, when we're talking about football or tennis or any other sport. So I guess there's a natural evolution that has to be made, and basically be sure that the AI will be used in the way that we want, so that we will actually benefit equine welfare and not only look at things that are, for example, outside of this scope. So we could train the AI, for example, to look at things that are already in the rules, but won't benefit welfare. And that's why I think it's really important for it to be really focused on welfare and what we really want to see in these future competitions, let's say. So some competitions that are more friendly to the horse as well, and that are looking at the future of the sports. So I guess that's basically it. So for some of the things, for example, that are already in the rules of the competitions, but are still, or that they shouldn't be happening, but they are still happening, for example, these things should already be able to be assessed by AI. But there's also lots of things that we could discuss among those, depending also on the discipline as well.
Mm. And I think it was quite important what you said about how it would be received by people as well, and what their perceptions are on it. I think that's a really important point. But also what you said, I can definitely agree with you with if there is in the rules or regulations in sport, if there is um, if there are rules that don't benefit welfare, that can be really where AI comes in to help with that, if I understood that right.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, exactly. Like
Yeah.
if well, there are already rules that we know that they are there in paper, but we don't see them being applied 100%. Also because there are lots of things for the judges to be looking at the same time, for example. So I guess the AI would definitely be helpful in terms of that to be, well, the AI will be able to look at lots of things at the same time and be more objective than we are. So I don't think the AI will be there, for example, to take the judges outside of the competition, but it should work as a tool to help the judges to make better choices.
That's exactly. We did a interview with Professor Inga Wolfram, and we she looked into that exact thing from the perspective of judges and what they're looking at. So we actually uploaded that recently. So anyone listening, or Gabriel as well, you can have a look at that. So
Yeah.
finally, just looking ahead, how would you see AI fitting into the future of? I know you briefly touched on it. Well, not briefly. I know you touched on it, but the future of equine welfare assessment. Do you think, in general, not just judges, but it can help trainers, researchers, and how would you see that fitting in?
Yeah, I think so because well, when I think about myself when I'm training horses, for example, I love recording the sessions because then I'm able to look at their body language, sometimes even sounds. Nowadays even a cell phone microphone is really good and you're able to perceive some sound that you didn't notice at the time, and lots of things that I learned from watching that training session. And in that point, we're only talking about technology and not even AI. So if we have intelligent technology to help us with those things, I really believe that we are going to be able to use it as tool to teach kids how to ride or how to recognize equine affective states, to teach professionals or to have better feedback on their trainings and also in competition. So I guess like to every step of the industry we could benefit and have better performance and even in a more professional way of getting to know that. So I always thinking, for example, when people do try to do systematic desensitization of horses, but they're actually flooding their horses, for example. And I think that these situations, for example, would be really easy for an AI to notice in the video and send a warning or something that really stop this horse is not in a good place mentally or something like that. So I guess it would really be helpful. And especially nowadays, since we're talking even about social media and the algorithms for social media and all of that, this kind of technology could also be applied there because I'm always shocked by things that I see on Instagram or TikTok and things like that, that people really don't seem to understand what the horse is going through. So I guess even in those circumstances, it could be really good as an educational tool.
Definitely. And I can totally agree with you with recording training sessions, and it helps me as a trainer train my horses and the horses that I work with. I sometimes I'll watch back a training session just because I recorded it and wanted to, I don't know, make a little collage edit out of it, and I'm like, oh my God, what am I doing? My timing's off. I'm like looking over there, and my horse is offering me behavior. So yeah, it does really help with that. And moving on as well, I think as you said, it would really help from the beginning, even with teaching kids, all the way up to competition, and everywhere else in the industry. I think okay, you could just argue better education, but I think people need to remember how much it costs for good education in this area in particular, and to be able to recognize the full extent of equine affective states, which is still being investigated. So absolutely, I think it would really help those who don't have access to such education, and also be able to encourage it in the younger generation as well. I think that's
Yes, for sure. And I think it's really important for us to consider that when we're talking about the equine industry, in many countries, it is not required for people to do kind of a formal education process or program around that. So it is natural that lots of myths will come up and lots of things that will be misunderstood. And we that are in this area doing the research and all that, we always have a really hard time trying to tell people that that's not actually true and there could be other ways of doing things. So if we have kind of a really evidence-based and program that has technology to help us reach more and more people, I think this will also be really important.
Definitely. Well, Gabriel, thank you so much. That was a wonderful conversation.
Thank you so much. It was great talking to you.